good.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
How's your summer? But man, school starts Friday. Is that what I heard?
They gotta get that.
Crazy.
So they've got 5 years.
That's wild.
Of course, they keep shifting the calendar, trying to get out earlier. And then also adding like a week fall break,
Put it
Yeah.
on this one.
extended
because we had
Christmas, and
first
they're trying to, I think the long-term goal, like,
Friday, had I known that.
on the
Year
calendar,
round.
I'm not, yeah, that's where they
Yeah.
really want to get.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I see.
Less data download or loss over the summer, you know, have bigger breaks here and there.
I'm not sure I disagree with that. You know, at the end of the day, when they were trying to do that year round, nobody liked it, but
We've got to finish.
now, like,
Didn't want to give up that full summer.
Right.
That nice big summer schedule.
yeah. But if you think about it, it makes sense.
But yeah.
I believe it's 4 o'clock.
Have you called the meeting to order?
No, because you were talking.
Just right, that's what the gavel's for.
See, I've learned over the years that Joe's talking, I don't interrupt.
Oh,
I will call this meeting of the Warsaw Redevelopment Commission to order. And we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance this week.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have, looks like full attendance today. Good to see all of you. First order of business is the approval of the minutes in the last meeting. Assuming you've all had a chance to look those over. Any questions for Whitney or anything?
I would make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike,
Second.
and Bill has seconded it. Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. New business. Jeremy, looks like we have an amendment to an agreement.
Yes, so you have an amendment to the professional services agreement for the park out by the airport. The original contract, I think, was for around $46,000 to do the preliminary design report, and then the amendment to that is in the amount of $308,000, which will be the full design for phase 1, which will get us to a point where we could bid out that park project and the contracts with DLC.
Jeremy, has funding been identified yet for that project?
So the intent would be to use TIF funds and then go after grant money. Yeah.
Thank you.
The park will include, I think we talked a little bit about this, and I think there's even kind of a little sketch in here of the park, but it'll include a cricket field, a full disc golf course, a walking trail that will be dog friendly, and then some other sports fields later in phase 2, which will be like open sports fields that could be used for rugby or ultimate frisbee or what have you. So we're not necessarily designing baseball or softball fields. That's not the intent. There'd be more open athletic field to have that variety of sports availability. So we've got baseball and softball, and the intent here is we'll probably do some other courts as well, some basketball, but the primary objective of this park is to fill in some gaps we have in just our athletic and our offerings in terms of alternative sports.
It does seem like a lot going on out there. Do you think the parking's been engineered to be adequate?
Yeah, and we may adjust that as we go, as we try to figure out what the overall cost is. We may do some adjustments on that. But I think the primary goal for us was to do 2 things. One is to provide an alternative athletic opportunities that we don't have in our community. And then 2, this will be the first park that does allow access for animals, dogs. All of our current parks are not dog-friendly.
So by adding the amendment, it creates a timeline then for the project,
Yes.
because they're creating bid documents and they've got construction period.
We'll get through the initial design, we'll get to the cost estimating part, and then the rest will be somewhat hinged on that. I've had some communications with some grant opportunities, so once we get a little further along in the design, we're able to share that with those grant opportunities. Then we'll see where our timeline fits in, based on receiving grants.
I think this is a great project.
What does the TIF to grant ratio look like?
I think we're probably looking for like a 25% grant, somewhere in that range. So we're still gonna be putting in a significant amount of money, but we're also looking for a pretty decent sized grant too.
Where's the old landfill in relation to this?
So how long will this design project take
Landfill
to
they ran into, and put the
Yeah.
sewer in, where's that?
get it to where you can
That's
start
the-
letting out bids?
Yeah, my goal is that this project would be let out if we get the grants, if we get, and the pricing comes in where we need it to come in, it would be a spring project. We'd start in the spring on phase one.
It's right here.
Okay.
Right in that area.
Yeah, it's south
There's a lot of ifs there, though.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind. Some of it's gonna come down to pricing. Some of the current estimates are pretty high, I think, but we'll see when we get a little further in the details.
No, you're right, it's up here.
Any other questions about the
Septic stand to
amendment?
get there.
Yeah, this is 300. It's up on 350.
So this is all gonna be done between now and end of the year?
Roughly. I mean, it'll carry on into early
Ish.
next year, yeah.
I know this park has been well thought out, well designed. It broadens opportunities for people in our community. And again, providing the funding is there. As we all know, you've got to have some good construction documents to be able to know what the cost of the project's going to be. Park Board, I'm sure, is committed to this project.
Yes, this has all been done with Larry the whole time.
Yep.
Understanding what their commitment's gonna have to be in the future. I think it fits into their 5-year plan in terms of trying to create those additional recreation opportunities that we don't have. And then the other side of it is we've had a lot of community support. I mean, quite frankly, there's a lot of people excited about this park for a variety of reasons. One is we have quite a few cricket players in Warsaw and around Warsaw that would take advantage of this. The disc golf has been huge. I can't even tell you how many emails I've gotten on the disc golf concerning this park, so I think there's some excitement there. And then just having a park that is animal friendly in terms of being able to take your dog and walk your dog, I think is also important to our community because we don't have any of those parks. So those things have been kind of driving a lot of the support around this. Is it a big project? Yeah, it is a big project. But I also think in terms of our city as we're moving forward and providing recreational opportunities, whether we do this now or we do this 2 years from now or 3 years from now, it's something that needs to be done to expand and continue to grow our parks. Specifically from an economic development standpoint. We all know what people want to see in the communities that they live in and work in, and these are huge parts of that that make our community more appealing as we continue to grow not only our residential, but our industrial and commercial offerings.
So this amendment basically accelerates process.
Yeah,
Right.
it gets us to the point where we can go to bid once we've identified the funding sources. And it's also going to modify, I mean, there'll be things that'll change as we get a little further along in the design process. We'll understand where we're at budget-wise. And if we have to make some cuts and to get down to the budget for phase one, then we'll do that. We've kind of tried to do that in that initial design, which we feel like we've gotten down to a point where we can maybe go after some grant opportunities. And then once we get it a little bit more refined, we'll do that again and we'll get it down. My goal is to try to get about a $2 million project, which, like I said, which is about 25% in grants as phase one.
Jeremy, I'm curious, has there been any thought given to making this park accessible via bike path or a walking path to link into the system that we've been talking about for years, the bike transportation,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
greenways? Will this, will there, I know we're probably gonna be doing some work out by, on the east end runway. That'll all have to be engineered out there, is that?
yep. Yeah, ideally, you know, we have our path that runs along 300 North. Ideally, we'd come up Sheldon Street, cross 15, and then run this down into that park. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice. So some thought has gone into that, okay.
Yeah, obviously connectivity is everything. The challenge is for phase one, you got to have all that kind of upfront infrastructure costs that will be kind of offset when you do phase two. But we've got to get sanitary out here, so that's a big cost upfront in running that sanitary to the site. So there's some upfront costs in phase one that we won't have in the second phase, but we've got to get to the first part first, and then
Right.
the second phases will be a little bit different. But and depending on that, I mean, this can be broken up into multiple phases over the next five years. But I think the key is we've worked extensively with Larry and the Parks Department on identifying what's in their 5-year plan, identifying those recreational opportunities that are not provided to our community that show up in their surveys that people want, and then trying to help him meet his 5-year goals moving forward with projects. So.
Jeremy, there's some allusion in these drawings to the phase one survey and off-site sanitary sewer design. Could you talk a little bit about where I assume you're going to draw it from the lift station that was put up
Yes,
for Greenbrier?
Yeah, it's going to connect into that gravity main that we ran not only for the subdivision, but also on, you know, obviously the airport, which was a septic system, is now
Yes.
tied on to our sanitary sewer system. So this new system would be a low-pressure grinder system that would run into that new gravity line we put in as part of that lift station project.
So it's pretty accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
a lot more
we're not-
accessible than before.
Yeah, exactly. So although there'll be some cost there, it's not
It's not as much as it would have been. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
which gives us a great opportunity.
Yes. Even moving forward as we have the ability to sewer the rest of the airport. Obviously, there's a lot of hangars out there that have tanks. They're all on tanks. So in the future, as the airports develop, all of those can go into the sanitary sewer system and remove the tanks. Any of that would be removed in the future. All of that was built for that purpose.
So this drawing that they show in the agreement, is that basically the amount of sewer that needs to be added for this project?
Yes. Yep. And that part has to still be designed a little bit, because obviously as we design that, we want to take into account those airport hangars, because this line would provide service to them in the future. So we have to size it so that those hangers could be tied on with grinder pumps as well.
What about across the street, the residential area there? I'm sorry I asked that, but
Yeah. Some of the immediate homes would probably have access to it if they had septic issues. But that goes back to kind of our policy over the last, well, since you took over as mayor, was if you're not annexed in, you don't get sewer.
that's kind of why I asked that.
And we've kind of stuck to that policy.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily designing this system to provide sewer to them. But if there were some septic issues along that route, it would certainly be large enough to tie in a dozen homes or so. Yeah.
Thank you.
But we're not actively seeking to annex them in. Because I'm sure I'll get phone calls if we say we are, so.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, any other questions about the Warsaw Airport Park Amendment? If not, I'll entertain someone making a motion, if they choose to.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the amendment to the agreement with DLZ.
Okay, we have a motion by Joe to approve the amendment.
I'll second.
Okay, Mike has seconded that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of this amendment, say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Bill left, might be the, oh. Okay, I hear no, so no no's.
Jeremy, I should have asked that first, but I assume that redevelopment is the one that's making the contract.
Yes.
There's no tie-in with the Parks Department at this point. Okay.
No, obviously, the Redevelopment Commission, and going out and getting grants, and obviously Larry's going to help in that process, but we'll be the project developer, the builder, and then turn it over to the Parks Department to maintain. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Will they have their own, like, maintenance building out there?
Yes.
Okay.
And that goes back to kind of that first phase is going to have more cost in it because you got to kind of cover all those details. So yeah, part of the initial cost up front is you got to build a maintenance facility so that they can house the equipment out there.
Yeah.
Because obviously, it's going to be a lot taking care of that acreage. So them hauling
Yeah.
back and forth isn't going to work. So yeah, they'll have a maintenance facility on site that would house that equipment for that park.
Did I see there's only one restaurant, or was that?
There'll be two restrooms. The initial phase would have the one, and then we'll have to
And then-
connect the second one in
Okay.
later, yeah.
This will do it right. Okay, thank you for all the information. Next up, we have a change order, G&G.
Yeah, so this is for the Sheldon Street project. That project has wrapped up. We've had some additional cost, and we've had some reduction. We've had some reduction in cost. We've had some add-ons over the project, but it amounted to an increase of $16,081.40. So the total contract amount from the original of $300,722.30 went up to $316,803.70. And then there's claims that you would approve later, but this is the change order for that project. There's some deducts, but the main increase has been the addition of electrical conduit. If you remember correctly, we cut out the light poles because the light poles came in extremely high cost-wise, but we did have them run the conduit so that we can pull wire if and when we adjust based on the cost of the electrical to put some other type of light there that may be more cost-effective than what we had originally in the design.
Thank you.
That's right. Good planning. Okay. Any other questions about the change order?
I'd make a motion to approve the change order number 1,
Okay, Mike has made a
for
motion
the
to
Sheldon Street project.
accept to approve of the change order.
Since Jeremy was good enough to put in electrical conduit for lights.
So we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, Bill has seconded that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the change order, say aye.
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 Okay. Any nays? All right, it's unanimous. County Road 200 North, right turn lane improvements.
Yeah, so as part of the medical office complex that's being built, or being proposed to be built along 200 North, we have been asked to participate into some road improvements that'll make traffic flow more efficient and safely in that area. So this contract is in the amount of $17,500 for the engineering of the turn lane on 200 North, which will also result in some utility relocation that would have to occur as part of this project. So this will be designed, whether or not it needs to be bid or quoted. As we get further into design, we'll determine that. It'll be based on the total cost. I don't have a cost estimate at this point, but once the design is further along and we get a cost estimate, we'll know whether or not we're bidding or quoting. So some of this cost may go down if we're not bidding. We don't have to bid if it's under that $150,000 mark. We may remove some of the costs associated with this, but the initial contract is for that $17,500, which does include bidding service if needed and construction administration. We probably will not use the construction administration, having Aaron, our city engineer, and then his new assistant on board. We'll probably do some of that in-house. But like I told him, I wanted it in the contract. We can always cut it out of the contract. I wanted it in the contract because I don't know where he's going to be at time-wise 3 or 4 months from now or 5 months from now when this project goes to construction.
So Jeremy, this is on 200 North and
Yes.
Boeing.
Yes.
So if you're headed east, and I believe I know where Boeing is, where it turns into that industrial park area.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So you want to have a right-hand turn lane there so people can
Yes.
just get in easily.
Yes.
What about westbound traffic? And somebody wants to turn left to go in? Do we need to consider putting
We do, and
I don't know what you would call it, a second lane where people can go around those people?
like a passing blister, which they
Thank
kind
you.
of frown on now. They don't really like the term passing blister, but yeah, that's typically what you're talking about. Initially, that's not what we're looking at doing.
Parking lot, if you did that.
So there's two things. We've got the Anchorage Road, which comes across. That project is scheduled to go to letting late next year. And then we currently are in the process of engineering the roundabout at 200 and 100 Husky Trail. And there's a hole in between those two that quite frankly needs to be addressed at some point in time. I don't know when that is, but probably fast approaching. I don't know that there's enough traffic right now to warrant what you're talking about, but once this development occurs, then you're right, there may be some additional improvements that need to be made.
It's a busy road now.
Yeah.
Well, I just throw it out there for consideration.
No,
If we're
point-
gonna put
point
in
taken.
one, maybe we need to, at the same time, consider maybe even getting the engineering.
Well, I know we're taking right away on the new development side.
Okay,
but I don't have right-of-way on the other side. So when we approach a project like what you're suggesting, then we're getting into right-of-way acquisition.
Okay.
Because it's a county road and just doesn't have the right-of-way necessary to make those types of improvements. We'd be acquiring property.
I think the other thing to consider is what's gonna happen at US 30
Yeah,
at that interchange. And a lot of that information will be forthcoming here within the next few weeks. Level 3 alternatives will be released, and basically they're going to put improvements in segments, and with 15 being right there in Anchorage, just have to wait and see what they're gonna propose for Anchorage, because that certainly could impact what's done upstream, if you will.
yeah.
Just another, something else to consider.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Mike. We need to do something
How, you know,
further on this road. I don't know when that occurs, and I don't know when the funding is available to do that. I can tell you, having this development occur will create future funds that could be used to build those improvements.
Was any thought given to perhaps putting not a full roundabout, but a turnabout?
We did
or
look at
something
it.
in there so
Mhm.
people could just make it a little smoother traffic pattern?
We did look at that. They did look at that, yeah.
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 That's a no-go?
I don't know that there's enough traffic on Boeing to warrant it at this point.
I wasn't worried about Boeing. I was worried about 200 North and the amount of traffic that seems to be flowing between 15 and,
Yeah, but that traffic right now
Husky
would
Trail.
not be stopped. As it currently is, it doesn't stop.
Right.
It's free flowing.
right? But if
Yeah.
you have someone coming west and they're gonna turn south to go on Boeing, now you're gonna start having backups on 200.
Yeah, I guess that's the point I was trying to make, is traffic count-wise, it's not really high to warrant that type of,
But with the addition of this medical center.
it could be. I mean, we can do calculations, but what I'm saying is, yes, but the medical center is gonna be driving most of that traffic into their site, so that's hence the right turn lane in. Most of the traffic's gonna be coming in and turning in there, they're not going to be interacting across the way. So you're providing the right turn lane in, which is gonna be the majority of the new traffic
If you're headed
added.
east.
Exiting, if you're going that way, you're not gonna have any issues, but if you're turning, that's where you would have conflict.
If you're headed
turning.
west and want to turn.
Yeah.
The goal of this parcel is for Parkview to use it for,
So Parkview has 3 medical buildings that will be placed on the site
okay. And are
with
they,
different ownership and different entities. So it's not necessarily all Parkview. I mean, I don't want to get the acronyms messed up, but I think it's O&E is Parkview side. Yeah, so you have O&E building a facility out here, you have Parkview's physicians facility, and then there's a surgical facility being located, or proposed. All of this is proposed, obviously,
Mhm.
but yeah.
and I see the parcels are adjacent,
Mhm.
very small place where they're adjacent, but I'm assuming they're going to want to connect those with a road or something along there.
Yeah, there'll be a road that comes down the center and then connects the different buildings, yeah.
You have a map?
That's Beacon. I just pull up Beacon.
Okay. Do you see what I'm saying, Jeremy? Am I missing something? It just
You're
seems
not
like
missing
If you put
something.
a roundabout there and you're headed west, you can go in that roundabout and go around, 3/4 of the way and turn in to the new medical facility instead of stopping, waiting for traffic to turn or pass, and then make your turn. In the meantime, you're backing up other cars headed west on 200. A small roundabout there would alleviate that. And if we're gonna go to the time and expense of just putting the right turn lane, maybe we should consider.
Would that take acquisition, obviously?
It would take acquisition, yeah, for sure.
They got
And
parking lots
I'm
pretty
not,
tight
I'm
right
not,
there.
not disagreeing, and
I don't think so.
but this right turn lane maybe $100,000, a roundabout's $1.5 million.
Just for a small,
Not big one, they just use some paint.
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately 200 North is going to get a redo at some point. That's why I'm saying we're doing the design for the roundabout at Husky Trail and 200. Anchorage Road's gonna come across and get redone. This is gonna be a short-term fix for their traffic, but long-term, that section of 200 needs to be rebuilt.
yeah.
But rebuilding it means acquiring right-of-way, moving utilities. It's not something that I can do quickly, and it's not something that can be done cheaply. I think this development will help in future TIF funds to complete that project. But we gotta hatch the egg and get the chicken before we can start selling this meat.
Jeremy, I know there's been discussion about extension of Mariner Drive. That's been discussed for a long time. And that's down a ways, and that just adds to Jeremy's, what he's trying to say is that there's a lot more that's gonna happen along this road as it develops, and a relatively inexpensive turn lane helps their project move ahead.
It's a quick relief out of the gate. And you're right, having a left turn lane, honestly, here, whether you call it a passing blister or left turn lane with a bypass around it, would certainly help. But that involves taking right away and all that, which is not a short term. I mean, it's not something I can do in 6 months.
I guess there's a Charlie Smith streak in me. I want to
Yeah.
get going. All right.
But we're acquiring right away so we can make some improvements in the future, including this turn lane. So we'll have some right away on the south side. We'll have to get some more on the north side.
Doesn't the city own that north side?
It's all in the city.
Yeah,
But
but that's all airport property, isn't it?
No, you're in a different spot.
It's the Airport Industrial Park.
Yeah, it's the industrial park, but it's not airport
I need to
property.
look on that beacon.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions about this proposal, ERI proposal for?
Yeah, so this is with Engineering Resources. They're the ones that just completed the Sheldon Street project.
This is a proposal with them.
Yes. They did the Sheldon Street design that we just completed.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, Joe's made a motion to approve the
I'll second.
proposal. Mike has seconded it. So a motion and a second. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, it did pass.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep, no problem.
Now we're going into August claims.
And we have a few. The two Indiana American Water claims are for the marsh property. The NIPSCO claim is for the marsh property. A&Z Engineering, $6,217.50 is for the roundabout project. Ripon LLC, $500,000, that was our Danco deal for the gas main project. Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, $15,210 is for their ongoing work associated with the bond issue for GACI. BIT Computers, $336.14 is for a new monitor. When the power went out, it blew blew Whitney's monitor. The Redevelopment Association is just the yearly dues, $125 for me. Animal House Glass, there's two claims. Those are for the art project going on, art installation at the park. G&G Hauling, $27,932.79, $22,482.36, and $31,680.39 are all for the Sheldon Street project. DLZ, $4,850 is that for the park? Yeah, that's for the airport park renderings. West Hill Development, $42,000, that's the monthly, our lease with West Hill for Shell Building number 3. Kedco, $300 is for the lease for Peak Mid. And then the HCC Development LLC, $45,000 is for a easement and aviation easement for property out by the airport that is having some storage buildings built on it. We're acquiring easement from them, no build easement and airspace easement, so that development will be pushed off to a certain side of their property. That easement will protect our airport going forward to allow for planes to land on that north-south runway and protect that area, whatever he calls it. It has a few names.
Runway protection.
There you go. He got runway protection zone. There's another one too.
RPZ.
I knew I was worth something.
So there are the claims. I have a quick question I should have asked. I was going to ask you beforehand, but maybe.
Let me guess. It has to do with Indiana American Water.
Yeah, it's $560 on a building. It just drives me nuts. But what, it says, private fee service charge. Is that something we get hit with all the time?
Those bills are so messed up that, and it has. Whitney's been going back and forth with them. We're supposed to get a credit.
We have a credit.
Yeah.
Supposedly our check got lost in the mail, and then they found it, and then they tried to cash it, and then there was all these fees. So it's all, fingers crossed, straight now. We have a credit. It's not just ours. It's all 20 accounts with the city.
Oh, okay.
So,
Because $560 is a lot of money.
Yeah, for no water.
No water.
Yeah, I know.
Any other questions about some of these claims? Down the list.
Make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Okay, Joe has made a motion to approve the August claims.
I'll second.
Jack has seconded it. Second. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the August claims, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Okay, hearing none, we passed approval of the August claims, and we do have an extra one.
Yeah, there was an add-on that Barnes and Thornburg, $18,144.50. That's for Warsaw Chemical work, rebar, which is GACI work, expansion of the TIF district. So yeah, it has a Danco. So all of those are
There's a
combined in that.
lot going on there.
Yeah.
wasn't there? Yeah. So we have a claim to approve if you so choose.
I move we accept it.
All right, Jack has made a motion, we accept the Barnes and Thornburg claim as presented. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mike seconded it. All in favor of approving the Barnes and Thornburg pay claim, say aye.
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 Aye. Those against? None? Okay. Passed. We go into other business now.
I don't have anything else. I mean, most of you are probably aware that Grace did get their CCC Lilly grant. So we've been partnering with them on a few of those projects, and we'll continue to work towards that now that they have that grant. So we're excited about that, but there'll be more to come with that. Obviously, the Warsaw Chemical was one of those projects that was in that Lilly grant application. Winona Avenue was one of those projects in those Lilly grant applications. So excited to see that happen, but that just means we have a lot more work to do.
All right, so thank you.
Yeah, that was huge news. That was huge news.
Yeah, that's good. Anything else for Jeremy? Well, sounds like there's no questions.
I move we adjourn. Is that what you're waiting for?
Yes. Yes, I didn't want to. We have a motion to adjourn
Second.
and a second by Bill. This motion. This meeting is.
Thank you. You have some things to sign, so.
I see this map now. I was off. I was
Yeah,
thinking
let
it
me-
was up.
He says it's kind of funny though.
I was thinking it was
Yeah,
250.